Alright everyone, it's time for the Occult, video number 315, The Secret to Success. Now I'm talking about employ and ambition and money and things like that. I'm not really talking about like, a successful life. Okay, well then, find love and, friends and shit. I'm not talking about the social side of things, just the fiscal side. Here's what I posit. It is far better to go for things you're interested in and things that you would be naturally ambitious towards than to try to act pragmatically by saying, I want to market myself for coding. I want to market myself for the kind of jobs that you'd be studying for in a college or something. That's not the way to go about things. I'll use myself as an example. That's what I was doing by the time I got into high school. I'm like, hey, I'm reasonably knowledgeable about and interested in science, so I'll end up working in a lab job. So I'm studying plant bio and taking like chemistry courses and shit, and for the most part was doing reasonably well. Not maybe my first semester, but after that my grades picked up and I was doing all right. But then I realized after my overdose, when I sort of went inside myself and started exploring more, like sort of what the fuck am I doing, I realized it was not pragmatic after all, because I was setting myself up for a life where I'd have food on my table, I'd have a bed to sleep in, but I'd be miserable. I'd have to work with other people, take people's commands, I'd have to fucking commute to do my 9 to 5 in the lab, and I'd be fucking miserable. That's not the kind of life that I wanted. Thankfully, by then, I was a college dropout. I was getting reasonably good grades in a public Ivy institution. It's not that I'm not capable of doing the academics thing, but it was just goddamn misery. After my overdose, of course, when I had anhedonia, I didn't go to class for the last semester mostly anyway. I basically sat there playing Minecraft, and I'm glad that I did. If I could go back, I'd tell myself, fuck college. And I say, go to a community college, get your basic liberal arts thing out of the way, and just apply yourself for the next 4 years to doing your own thing, because in the long term you'll make more money anyway. I'm making twice as much money as a dropout who is known partially for being a shirtless, goofy YouTuber than I would have made in a lab job. That's because I focused on things that I was naturally interested in, because the things that you're interested in, you'll tend to work harder at. Everything that you can do is a skill. If you play an instrument, are you going to end up in the next big rock band or end up, the next Justin Bieber? No, probably not. But even if things are really terrible, typically you'll find a bar or a parlor somewhere where you can plunk yourself down and play piano or do your jazz or whatever, and for tips, and at the very least at the end of the night have a goddamn sandwich to eat, and you won't starve. So you're still better off than somebody living under a bridge with no skills at all that has to sit on the street corner 10 hours a day begging, just because you know how to play one instrument. Keeping that in mind, I agree with what Scott Adams says about the idea of skill stacks. The more skills you have, the higher your likelihood of success. So let's say you're a blank person, you don't have any skills. You can go to school, you can go to college and stuff, you'll have a couple things you're knowledgeable about enough so that if you're hooked up with a job by your college, because trust me, academic jobs are difficult to get into generally, after getting tens of thousands of dollars of debt, you'll have a reasonable job. Even if I had gone through and gotten straight A's at UVM in plant biology, there's no telling whether I would have actually landed a lab job. Maybe I would have had to get even more debt, get my master's degree, still be a shining A+ grade student, just in order to get an entry-level goddamn position as an assistant. That's probably what would have happened. I'd be broke. I wouldn't have been able, in the Great Recession, which starts literally the year that I start going to college, yay for the millennials, yeah, that would work. That'd be really, really great. It'd work really, really well. Instead, I learned how to edit. I learned how to write. I delved into the occult. I learned a lot about history. I refined my capabilities of speaking, my elocution. You'll notice there's a difference between the flow and the way that I speak now and the way that I spoke 10 years ago, if you check against those YouTube videos. Of course, it wasn't as high energy at the time. I was high some of the time, so that explains it occasionally, but not always. Sometimes I was sober. I swear the time I saw the ghost cross the room, I was. I'm not joking, so keeping that in mind as well. Some weird shit in the world. My advice would be to train for the things you're actually interested in. Start at a young age. If you have kids especially, inculcate this idea into them. They're going to be interested in all sorts of things. Jimmy likes guitar, he likes video games, he likes computers, he likes Sally likes gardening and books and all these. Get them interested and involved in all of their hobbies. Promote those more than you promote the idea of work, study, school-style bullshit stuff. They're going to be reading below their level probably in school unless they're dumbasses anyway. They're going to hate math. They're not going to like the stuff in school because it's been deliberately designed to dumb them down. They're designed essentially to be a sponge, to absorb the right think knowledge, and to regurgitate it on a piece of paper every few months so that they can eventually get an office job in their own water cooler. That's basically what your kids are being trained for. You'll have to take more of a pole position in training them if you want them to succeed more than that. Or they're going to have to be that special 1 in 1,000 people that just really has a lot of burning ambition and won't be held back and will end up, hopefully with luck on their side, which is like what happened to me. They'll be in the right place at the right time for their skills to shine, and then they'll be able to make a career out of it. But you can help that happen. Jimmy locks himself in his room and he plays with his keyboard all day. Good! Jimmy's learning a valuable skill. He could end up being in the next retro 80s new wave band. What's wrong with that? Little Sally, she's neglecting her math, and all she wants to do is hang out in the flower garden. Good. Well, get her a book on flowers. And that's how you raise kids. That's certainly how I'd raise mine. It's not correct to just say, oh yeah, go to school. The school is your babysitter. Learn whatever they tell you. No, what they're going to learn in school is that drugs are bad, which means they're good because the teacher's the one that's telling them that. That the state is your friend, and the woke history and critical race theory and bullshit like that. They're not learning reality. They're learning a falsehood. Your job is to deprogram them from that taxpayer-funded authoritarian nonsense anyway. As for you, some of you are considerably older than me. I've talked to people, they're like, well, yeah, you give good advice. I wish I'd known this 10 years ago. Oh, you can still learn skills. Pick up a guitar, something like that. You can do that. What, you're 40 years old. Do you think that your life is over? I hope I never start thinking that way. Fuck, aging is not necessarily fun, but, you know, you are as old as you think. That's about all. Peace out.